All right, today's the day. The guy's here is going to help us move this thing with his big flatbed and tractor. So now, hopefully, she's going to start. It's I think it's November 2nd. It's pretty cool today, so I brought starting fluid because I don't want to mess around and run the risk of it not starting. And it's only been a few days since Hurricane Sandy did all the damage here in the Northeast, so we fared pretty well, but we did get probably 2 to 3 inches of rain in the state. So let's see. All right, I just took the battery back up, give it throttled up. Give it a spray of starting fluid. Shouldn't take too much. And get the wiring over here. Engine shut-off's in. It's a beauty! Well, we got it loaded. I'm still shaking because I was driving it up there, so nobody was shooting video, and we missed some. You guys missed some real action because when I got it onto the bottom there, all of a sudden the trailer kicked up in the air like I was pulling a wheelie. Couldn't see what was going on, and when I got the loader in position so I could see, I realized it picked up the pickup truck right off the ground. The rear end of that truck was completely off the ground, up in the air. So we made the decision to just bring it forward and get the weight back on the front there, and that's where it stands now. But I'll tell you, it's been quite the adventure getting this thing home. First we damaged the first trailer we tried with. Now on this bigger trailer, the problem is we didn't have a big enough truck, enough weight in the front. So hopefully everything's going to be okay. I don't know if you can see it there in the rearview mirror, but he's behind me. We made it. No mishaps. Well, there she is. She's going to sit for now. That's going to be her parking spot until I figure out what my next move is going to be. Is the old bucket from the multi-hoe. Right now steel prices are kind of low, so I'll let that just sit there for a while longer. Also didn't have any way to load it into a truck or put it on a trailer to get it to the scrapyard anyways, because didn't have a working loader. Now I do. So alright, and there's the 1920. There's the 305 bush hog. Alrighty. Took time out to do this today, but now I gotta go do some work. Well, it's Saturday morning, November 10th. Nice day today. About 40 degrees. About 9 o'clock in the morning, and sun's shining. Gonna try and do a little work on the Oliver today. One of the things I want to do is I want to straighten out the wiring some so that I can not have to hot wire it constantly when I want to start it. And then I also want to pay some attention to maintenance on the hydraulic system and the cooling system. The water or coolant that's in the radiator is pretty skunked, and I don't want to go over another winter with that garbage in there. And then the hydraulic system, if it's been neglected as bad as the crankcase oil was, I'm sure it's pretty bad, and that's not good for the hydraulics at all, especially if you get a lot of water in your hydraulic fluid. It can freeze during the winter and damage equipment, so we don't want to do that. And then at some point I'm going to have to deal with taking those cylinders off, of course, and having those either attempting to repair them myself or having them repacked. But first thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up and drive it over closer to the house so that I'm closer to my tools. Seeing as how, even though it's 40 degrees, the engine block's going to be pretty cold, and the battery's getting a little low, I think I'm going to just use a little small squirt of ether, or I should say more appropriately starting fluid, just to make sure I get a good quick start. I don't want to use too much. I'll let it warm up a bit, and then I'll raise the loader and the backhoe and drive it on over. Well, let's see what we have for gauges on here. We've got an ammeter, we've got a mystery gauge, we've got a water temperature gauge, oil pressure, and a fuel gauge. Alright, so that's pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a gauge on here for the temperature of the hydraulic oil. That might be this one here. Or it could be a temperature gauge for the transmission. The shuttle shift on here, the hydromatic, might have a temp gauge. I'll be able to figure that out maybe by following if there's any wire still attached to that one. Here's something interesting about the water temp gauge. The capillary tube that comes off the water temp gauge actually goes down into here, and it goes into the back of a T-fitting right here, and there's this petcock right here, and then there's a line that goes over to an elbow that goes to the engine block, and then there's another T, and there's a flex line, rubber line, that goes over across to the other side. I'll show you where that comes out. So that's this line right here. It comes across and it goes into this block, and then interestingly enough, you've got this line, which looks like a hydraulic line, goes over to a little filter that's stuffed in the back here. I imagine you unscrew it from this side and then pass it out through the other side to get it out. I mean, that's going to be tough to do, but the other line coming out of the filter goes down into the hydromatic transmission. There's my dipstick for my hydromatic transmission right there. So what I think we've got here is, I think on the other side of this little block thing is actually a oil cooler. So what they're doing is they're circulating coolant through a cooler here, and then the oil's on the other side of the cooler, and it's to cool the transmission. So that's pretty cool. But at first it kind of had me perplexed as to why it was coming over here and then had hydraulic lines going in it. But on the back side I could feel a block-like device, and it's actually a little warm, so that's the cooler for the hydromatic transmission oil. Okay, the mystery gauge is not electrical. It's got a capillary tube right here that's got a spiral wound wiring covering, and that disappears down into there. Let's see if I can figure out where that goes. Okay, that comes right down here and goes into a sending unit right there that plugs into the back of this little junction, which also has one of these hydraulic lines coming from that filter for the hydromatic. So that's either a temperature or a pressure sending unit for the oil temperature in the hydromatic. That makes sense. More likely temperature than pressure. Well, let's check the oil level on the crankcase. I haven't checked it since I did the oil change. As you recall from the earlier videos, it was way over full, contaminated with a lot of diesel. So the question is it filling back up with too much diesel? Yeah, it looks like it's high again. Kind of hard to tell. I can get a rag and recheck it. Yeah, it's definitely high. It's about, it's on the other side of that H on the dipstick there, so that's not good. You see, if the level of the oil had dropped, I could attribute that to just the worn engine burning oil and I could deal with that in the short term by just adding more oil as needed. The problem with the rising level is, judging from how thin that oil is, the most likely suspect is diesel getting into the crankcase. And the most likely cause of that is it's very possible that the front seal, where the shaft goes in to drive the injector pump here, is bad, and that would cause diesel fuel to migrate along that shaft and dump into the crankcase right through this housing here. So that's not good, because all that oil thinning out, all that diesel thinning out your oils, taking away a lot of the properties that you want in your oil. So that's something that's going to have to be addressed sooner than later.